Okay, so let's share. Okay. You see my screen, guys? Yep, perfect. So I don't know where have we stopped last class. Someone can remind me, please. I think we were doing the net present value very quickly.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So remember, guys, that the net present value is a concept that we're going to be using all the time. Okay, in project evaluation, it's basically one of the main tools that we're going to have. Okay, so the basic stuff here to remember is that indeed we have two cash flows that are equivalent, okay, or two positions that are equivalent. So one of them is simply moving, is obtained discounting everything to the present. So if we have, I'm sorry, I'm terrible at drawing today. I don't know why. Yeah, I don't know what numbers we use here, but in any case, we can use another example just to be sure you understand. Imagine this is 500. Imagine this is 1,200. I don't know if these are the numbers as before or not. Now, as we discussed last class, guys, there is always something that is called opportunity cost. That is basically, what can you do with this $1,000 if you don't have this project here? Okay, that's the opportunity cost. It's simply my alternative use of this $1,000. Now, as I mentioned to you last class, this one here must be a real option. Okay, so it is not something that you dream, but it's something that you can actually get. Okay, so that's the most important part of the opportunity cost. So, and as I was telling to you guys, the technique of moving everything to the future is called net future value, and moving everything from the future to the present is called net present value, correct? And that's it. So if we do can you please compute the net future value? We have done that as a matter of practice. Can you tell me what is the net future value here? Can you tell me what is the net present value here? And let's assume the opportunity cost is equal to 5% per period. Okay. Try to remember what we did last class, and then this is going to be a good exercise. So this is an investment. You invest $1,000 today, and then in 1 year, you're going to get 500, and then in 2 years, you're going to get 1,200. And if your opportunity cost is 5%, do you do this investment or not? Okay. Remember, just as a remembrance, the net future value is greater than 0, do the project. And the same happens with the net present value. If the net present value is larger than 0, then do the project. Okay, so try to remember, guys, what we did last class and try to make sense of this one here. Okay, we're going to invest 15 minutes here just to be sure that everyone understands this concept. It's very, very important. Okay, 2 minutes to do this. Try to do this very quickly. Okay, 1 more minute and then we start discussing this. Okay, guys, so we can start. Some answers. What is the net future value?
622.50.
Okay, some want to confirm?
I got the same.
Yeah, perfect. And what is the net present value?
564.626.
626. Yeah. Okay, guys. So the logic that the decision rules are very simple. If this number is larger than 0, do the project. If this number here is greater than 0, so do the project. But what is crucial for me is you to understand what is the logic of this stuff. Okay, why this is true. Okay, and I think that the net future value is an easy way to understand. So imagine, guys, that you tell me that your opportunity cost is 5%. Okay, so what is crucial is that as soon as this is a real option, so this implies that if you put your money at this $1,000, you can get this 5% per year. Got it? So this implies that you can use the 5% and you can move this money, and then you can get what? So this is going to be times 1.05 squared, correct? So what do we get here? Guys, someone?
1,102.5.
1,000?
1,102.5.
Oh, yeah. 1,100.
1,102.5.
Like that?
Yeah.
Okay, so basically what is the idea of this 1,102, guys? Is the money that you are going to have. Imagine this is the bank, okay? Of course, 5% is very unrealistic for a bank now. But if you have really this opportunity cost and you use this $1,000 at your opportunity cost, what do you get? 1,102 for sure. Make sense? Okay. Now, this is if you do the opportunity cost. Now, what happens if you do your project? How much money you are going to end up having at the end of the period? So what you do is you move this 500 to the future, correct? So how do you do that? Well, you use again the opportunity cost. So that's why this opportunity cost is very crucial. It's extremely crucial. So this implies that I'm using this $500, I'm going to the bank, deposit in the bank, and I get 5%. So how much do I get? How much is the value in period 2 of 500? 525?
Yes, it's
Correct, perfect. So at the end of these two periods, how much money you're going to be having is going to be $1,725,000, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so now that the comparison is very simple. If you do the project, you end up having this money here. If you do your opportunity cost, you end up having this money here. So what is the marginal contribution of the project? So how much more you get by doing the project? Well, the difference between this and this, correct? Make sense? And this is exactly this 622.50. Got it? So what is this 622.0 is simply the amount of money above of what you get with your opportunity cost by doing the project. That's all. Make sense to everyone? Okay, questions? Questions, guys? Clear? Okay, so what happens is that in real life, we don't use the net future value. This is correct, this estimation is correct. But what we do is we usually use what is called the net present value. So what is the net present value? Simply, guys, is how much I will invest. Okay, as soon as it's a negative number, I'm investing $1,000. And I hope to have $500 in one period. So as soon as this is one period ahead, I need to discount it. And I need to discount the 1,200 by 1.05 squared because I'm discounting two periods, one here and two here, right? And this should give you 564.626. So what is the idea of this number here? So simply, this means exactly the same as this one here, but in terms of present value. So what we are saying is the following. My project that is represented by these two cash flows produces $664.26 above my initial investment. So that's why if this number is greater than 0, so we do the investment. Make sense? Okay.
Sorry,
Yes,
why doesn't NPV account for opportunity costs?
Yes, it accounts for opportunity cost here.
Ah,
The opportunity cost is here in the discounting rate.
okay.
Okay, so the easy way to understand is really with the net future value. I always have an easy way to explain the net future value because it's very clear. The net present value is exactly the same because remember, how are these two numbers here, guys? In financial terms, how are they? They are not equal. Of course, they are not because 622 is not equal to 564. So how do we call these two numbers?
Equivalent.
Exactly. So they are equivalent. So equivalent means, guys, that they tell you exactly the same story. How do we know that they are equivalent? Well, what we can do is we can move the net present value into the future. How do we move this one into the future? And then what do we get? You can verify that. Or what we can do is we can move this guy here. So I will move this one here to the present because this is a future value. How do I make this in a number into the present? Simply 2 periods ahead, 2 periods down, and then I obtain 564.626. You can verify that. Got it? So the concept is exactly the same. Okay, the idea is exactly the same. If these two numbers are greater than 0, we do the project. Okay, what is crucial, and you need to understand this, is this number here. The opportunity cost per period must be a realistic number. Why? Because everything depends on this number. You see that? So if this number is completely unreal, guys, and this happens when I do some consulting, some guys told me, oh, I get 50% here. They say, are you sure you get 50%? You have an investment that produces 50%? And they told me, yeah, of course. Okay. So take your money and invest it at 50% and you're going to get, and tell me, can you do that? And they told me, no, I cannot do that. But I told you, but you told me that you have an opportunity cost that is 50%. And they start talking about, you know, yeah, of course, but this is comparable. The industry has this 50%. Forget about that. The opportunity cost is something that you can get for real. It's not an illusion. It's not a dream. Okay. Remember that. That's crucial for us. Make sense to you? Make sense to you guys? Okay. So there is an additional concept, and we do some Excel just to warm up for a minute.
Sorry, can I just clarify?
Yes, go ahead, Daniel.
So net future value start from the present and calculate the future.
Exactly.
NPV calculate from
future
the
to the
future
present.
after the present.
Exactly. Exactly. So remember, in terms of what we have been seeing always is that if we have, okay, this is time 0 and this is time n, okay? So we have two possible options. Remember always, if we go from 0 to n, how do we call this one here? Compounding, do you remember? And if you go from the future to the present, how do we call this process?
Discount.
Discounting. Okay, so those are all the two operations we can do. So what is compounding? Compounding is related to net future value. And what is discounting? Discounting is related to net present value. Make sense? Okay, perfect. Now, guys, there is another concept that we need to understand that is also used with the net present value. Okay, so this is the topic net present value. Now, there is another tool that we can use just to make the same decision. It's called the internal rate of return. So this is the famous internal rate of return. So what is the internal rate of return? Well, mathematically, guys, is the interest rate that makes the net present value equal 0. Okay, and the financial intuition is the average interest rate per period. Okay, so let's understand how this works. So guys, I know the formula of the net present value, correct? This is my net present value. This is my formula. So what I will do is the following. I want the net present value. The formula is going to be 1,000 plus 500. Instead of 105, instead of using the opportunity cost, I will say 1 plus internal rate of return plus 1,200, 1 plus internal rate of return, all this squared. And I want all these to be equal to 0. Got it? Because that's the definition of internal rate of return. Is the interest rate that makes the net present value equal 0. So my net present value formula is this one, and I want this to be equal 0. And instead of using the opportunity cost 5% in this case, I want to estimate what is the rate that makes this equation equal to 0. Got it? Now, here we have a problem. We have one unknown, and then we have this is a quadratic equation. Do you agree, guys? So how many potential values we're going to get? 2 potential values. Got it? Now, this is for this very simple example that we have only 2 periods, but normally you can have 10 periods, you can have 20 periods. In that case, doing this by hand is almost impossible. Got it? So what we do is what we are going to be doing, guys, is we're going to use Excel. Okay? Can you copy in 1 minute, and then let's do Excel. If you can open your Excel, so let's do this together. Okay? Let me save this stuff. I'm opening my Excel. If you can open, please, your Excel. Okay, you see my screen? Guys, you see my Excel?
Yeah.
Yep, perfect.
Yeah.
So what we are going to do, guys, is we're going to write the cash flow, okay? So what I will do is I will say this is my time, or periods if you want. And here I have my cash flows. Right? So period 0, period 1, and period 2. We have only 2 periods in this example. We said that at the period 1, I need to invest $1,000. So please be careful with the sign here, minus 1,000. The arrow is going down. And then I get 500 positive in 1 year and 1,200 in another year. This is our cash flow. Do you recognize this cash flow here, guys?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So now what we are going to do is, how do we compute the net present value? Okay, In Excel, guys, what happens, or the command for Excel is indeed net present value, NPV. So the Excel command is NPV. You need to enter the rate. The rate is my opportunity cost. So I said my opportunity cost is 5%, so 0.05. Then what I do is, what is tricky here in Excel, guys, is that Excel discounts everything to the period 0. So what we need to do is only include the cash flow that corresponds to this part here, period 1 and period 2. So you click from B3 to B4, and then close parentheses. Okay, so the trick here is not to include the first value, because Excel NPV, what it does, it discounts always. It discounts from the first period down. Got it? So if we include period 0, Excel has no idea that this is period 0. It will believe it's period 1. So it will discount also this number. So that's why when we discount only from periods 1 and above. And then what we do is we simply sum the first cash flow. You see that? Okay, so if you enter, did we obtain this value? I think so, no? 564.63. So this is our net present value. Agree, guys?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so what we can do is let's do a DR. So we can do our DR decision rule. So we can do an if condition. We can say that if this number here is larger or equal than 0, comma, we can write do project, else reject project. Something like that. So we can have a decision rule here. You see that? Make sense? So this is just aesthetics. Guys, do you understand?
Yeah.
Okay. So another thing here. You see that this 5%, if you want to change this formula, every time you're going to be changing this 5% in here in the formula. So what I recommend to you guys is let's add a couple of columns here. Sorry, a couple of rows here. And let's write opportunity cost. Okay, and then let's write here the 5%. And then what we can do is we can link our formula. Instead of this 0.05, just block this one here and click on 5% here. So the formula is going to be this one. Let me enlarge this one so you can have a better view. You see that, guys?
Professor,
Yes.
for the decision rule, how come we're saying greater or equal to 0 and not just strictly greater than 0?
Yeah, I will explain that in a minute. Good question. I will explain in a minute. You got it, guys? The formula, the Excel is clear? Everyone got these values?
Yes.
Yes, okay. So
Yeah.
let me go back to my screen, to my whiteboard for a couple of minutes. Okay, here, remember that I told you in this part here is greater than 0. So what happens? So let me delete this part here, okay? So I will delete this part here. And what happens when we have? What happens when we have the net future value or the net present value equals 0? So what is the meaning of that, guys? what is the meaning that net present value equals 0? So this implies, guys, that these cash flows are equal to the investment, to the original investment. But these cash flows discounted at opportunity cost. So basically, when you have a net future value or net present value equals 0, so it implies that you are indifferent with respect to both of them. You are indifferent versus the opportunity cost. So you can do either the project or you can do your opportunity cost. You're indifferent. Make sense? Okay.
Sorry, could you repeat that?
Yes, of course. What I'm saying is the following. Everything agrees that when it's strictly greater than 0, we do the project, correct? Now, what happens when we have the net future value or net present value equals 0? The only case in which this can happen is when the return of my project is exactly the same as my opportunity cost. So this implies that if the project produces exactly the same as my opportunity cost, so you're indifferent of doing either the project or the opportunity cost. Got it? So you are indifferent. Make sense?
Yeah.
Now, guys, before moving here in the internal rate of return, what is the decision rule with the internal rate of return? It is, if the internal rate of return, and you're going to understand this in a minute, it's a rate, it's an interest rate. If this number is greater than the opportunity cost, then do the project. So this is going to be our decision rule. Where are my colors here? Here we go. This is going to be my decision rule when I have the opportunity cost, sorry, the internal rate of return. If my internal rate of return is larger than my opportunity cost, I do the project. And these are my decision rules when I have the net future value. Now, again, what happens if my internal rate of return equals my opportunity cost? What is the decision here?
Indifferent.
Exactly, you're going to be indifferent. Okay, always versus opportunity cost. Okay, so I'm indifferent of investing in this cash flow, sorry, in this project versus just putting your money and you second best of the opportunity cost. Make sense? Okay, so let's go back to Excel. Yeah. Now, how do we compute the internal rate of return? So let's call this internal rate of return. Well, in Excel it's the same. It's equal internal rate of return, parentheses. In the internal rate of return, guys, you simply block everything. B4 to B6. Okay, in the internal rate of return, you block everything. And then you get 37%. Okay, so what is the idea? What is this? What is this 37%? What this 37% is telling you? Someone.
That's the interest rate when NPV is 0.
Mm-hmm. But the intuition is what? This is the average interest rate that this project is going to produce per period. Okay? So remember, guys, what was the average interest rate when you have the opportunity cost? The opportunity cost, do you agree? 5% and 5% square, but it's always 5%. The internal rate of return, guys, is the average per period that makes the net present value equal 0. So this implies that instead of using 5%, I'm using 37% here. Got it? So when internal rate of return is 37%, then this gets equal to 0. If it's below 37%, sorry, if it's above 37%, so this implies what? Let's go back to Excel. Now you're going to understand this part here. Okay, sure. Now, what is the idea of this 37%, guys? Your project produces 37% versus what? Versus the 5%. 5% is your second best, and 37% is produced by this project. Which one do you like more? Which one produces
37?
more money? Yeah,
37.
37%, obviously. Do you agree? Obviously. So if you have two projects, one offers you 5% and the other one offers you 37%, obviously you're going to take the 37%. That's why the decision rule here, so my decision rule is going to be if this number here is larger than my 5%, then do project. Otherwise, reject project. Agree with me? Okay, copy and let's do another example. Yes, Daniel.
Sorry. So the internal rate of return, so the 37%, if we plug that in, that NPV will equal to 0.
Completely right. Take a look.
How,
Well, perhaps it's not 37%, perhaps it's a little more. So let's take a look with all the decimals. Yeah, 37.36. Take a look. Just
but,
put here.
yeah.
Guys, everyone understand this part here? Do you get the same numbers? Okay, now let's do what Daniel is suggesting. I told you that this rate is the one that makes my net present value equal 0, correct? Okay, so let's replace this value in here, 37.36%. You see that? Of course, it's because of the decimals, but this number here makes my net present value equal to 0. Make sense? Now, guys, this is really crucial. Okay, so we'll go back to 5%. This number here, everyone is with me. I want to give you the more intuition in here. Why the opportunity cost is so important. Copy, let me know if you have questions. Clear, guys? Everyone is clear here? Okay, now, why the opportunity cost is so crucial, guys? Imagine that you really can get 5%, okay? That's the maximum you can get, given your current situation. 5% is the maximum you can get. Imagine now, guys, that you get excited about this and you want to give an opportunity cost of 50%, okay? What you can do, guys, is what? Because you're using a number that is completely rational, you can be rejecting a good project. Make sense to you? So that's what I'm trying to tell you. Opportunity cost is crucial. You need to be very careful on selecting a number because one number can destroy all your good project. Because now, if it's true that you can make 50%, of course, come on. 50% produces more than 37 that produces this project, so you do the opportunity cost. You agree? So if this number is real, good for you. But if this number is false, it's simply an imagination, it's an illusion, then you can be losing very nice opportunities. Do you understand this concept, guys? Now, in iPad, guys, you need to be very careful here because a lot of social responsible investments, the people make this mistake, okay? Opportunity cost, whatever, just put 50%. I say, why 50%? Are you sure you can get 50%? And when you start pressing the individuals to tell you, can you get 50%? They're going to tell you no. No, I'm just imagining this number. Got it? It can be terrible. Can be really terrible. Okay? Questions?
Sorry, I'm
Yeah,
not
Dylan, go ahead.
understanding the concept of internal rate of return. So if the rate is 37%, if you plug that in, and NPV equals 0,
Yes.
wouldn't we make that wouldn't we be indifferent?
Yes, of course. But the thing is that indeed your opportunity cost is 5%. And this project is producing 37%. Make sense? So you have two alternatives. Your banking account that gives you 5% and this project that produces you 37%. Which one do you select?
The 37.
Obviously, because this one is much better than this 5%. You agree? So this is what the project produces in terms of interest rates. And this one here is the bank or whatever other option that you have. So that's why the decision rule with internal rate of return is this number here, if this number here is larger than this one here, do the project. Got it? In terms of net present value, remember is if this number is larger than 0, you do the project. Normally these two numbers they don't contradict, okay? Normally. However, guys, I will not go into the details, but the internal rate of return is a mathematical number. Okay, have you seen it's a quadratic? If you have 10 values, you have a 10th power polynomial. Now, how many roots do you have in a 10th power polynomial? You get 10 values, got it? Now, the internal rate of return, guys, let me show you, and I will just give you the intuition, okay? Okay, so let me clear. The internal rate of return, guys, works nicely. Okay, if and only if there is only one change of sign. Okay, change of sign, imagine, is the following. If I have an investment and in the future, all the other ones are inflows. So this works perfectly. Change of sign implies negative to positive. Or you have cash flows like this. You do a loan and then you pay the loan for a lot of periods. The internal rate of return also works. However, guys, if you have more than one change of sign, internal rate of return can produce mistakes. So what I mean is the following, and unfortunately, this is more realistic. So imagine you invest once, then you start getting money, and then you want to grow your business again. So you invest another time here. And so you continue doing this stuff here, etc. So in this case, you have one change, you have two changes. You see? The internal rate of return, guys, is going to give you wrong results. Most likely it's going to give you wrong results. You can get interest rates that are completely minus 500. I got minus 500. I say, why is going on? It is because the internal rate of return, guys, is a mathematical tool that computes the average interest rate per period that makes the net present value equal 0. That's all. So that's why normally, guys, the net present value never fails. So that's why when you do this type of analysis, you give a lot of weight to the net present value and you sometimes forget about the internal rate of return when the numbers are crazy. Got it? Make sense? Okay, guys, questions? Okay, so let's do one additional exercise. And you do this in Excel, okay? So assume that you have the following cash flow. Okay.
Sorry, doctor, what is the number after period 2
Yeah,
on period 3?
900. Yeah,
900. Oh, thank
900.
you.
Okay, 1,000, 5,000, 7,000, 8,000. Okay, so if you can do this in Excel, please.
Professor, is that 7,000 after 3,000?
Yeah, this is 5,000, 7,000, and
Oh,
8,000.
that's okay. 5, 7, and 8.
Exactly, exactly.
Sorry, what's the number for period 3? I can't.
Yeah, it's 900.
Okay.
So we have 10,000, then we have 300, 500, 900, 1,000, 5,000, 7,000, and 8,000. The opportunity cost is 15% per period. Okay, 2 more minutes and then you give me some numbers, guys. Okay, so let me show you Excel. Someone can give me some values here so we can have some references. What do we have in the net present value? Someone?
I got 322.13.
322.13,
Got the same.
Yeah, I got the same too.
perfect. And internal rate of return?
16%.
16%. Okay, decision rule. We do it. This is greater than 15%. We do it. Correct? Okay, so let's do this in Excel, guys. This is really cool and really easy. So let me show you. Okay. So what I will do is I will create a new tab here. I will copy all this one here. And then what I will do is I will put here 15%. Of course, my cash flow is longer, so I can add additional columns. So all of you are fluent in Excel, right? I have how many periods? 7? Let me see, I copy the numbers. 10,000, 300, 500, 900, 1,000, 5,000, 7,000, 8,000, correct? So I can eliminate this space here. No, not insert. Okay, my net present value, guys, remember, does not include the first one, but includes from period 1 and above. 322.13, correct? So my decision rule is already there. Do the project. For my internal rate of return, what I need to do is I need to block everything. I need to select everything, B4, B11, and then I have 15.67%. Got it? You're almost indifferent, do you agree? Because 15.67, yeah, it is larger than 15, but here, guys, enters another consideration, risk consideration. Which one is more secure, you know? Is this 15% of your opportunity cost or the 15.67% of the cash flow? Okay, so then you get more complicated type of decision-making processes. But at this point, technically, 15.67 is larger than 15, so you should do it, or the net present value is 322.13, you should do it. Make sense? Questions, guys? Easy? Yep, makes sense? Okay, so let's do something that I always enjoy showing students. So let me, and you're gonna have some time to think about this stuff. Okay, so I will save this and I will clear. Okay, so guys, you're gonna have the following. Let me copy this from Excel. You have to imagine that you have a business, okay? You have your business. So just put this in perspective. You have your own business. And then you are going to go into a couple of banks and you need money. So you need to finance your project. So you have bank 1, I will call it line 1. And then you're going to have bank 2 that we'll call line 2. So you get a loan. So both of them are for $1,000. And this one here is only 2 periods. This one here requires you at the beginning to pay $200. The first year you pay $200. From this $200, the principal equals $100 and the interest equals $100. And then during the second period, you return the remaining 880. That corresponds to principal 800. Sorry, it's not 100, it's 990. $990. So this is 900 principal and interest 90. And then you have another bank, basically the same amount of money. They can lend you the same amount of money. But then here you have a different structure. So at the beginning, you're going to return 880. From here, $80, principal is $800, and the interest equals $80. And here you are going to return only, at the end of the period, you're going to return 216. That corresponds to a principal of $200 and an interest of $16. Okay, copy, and then I will rephrase what we are doing here. Okay, let me rephrase this example. So you have your own project, and your own project requires $1,000 for starting, working capital, for example. And then you can go to bank one or bank two. And then you ask $1,000 as a loan, so in each of them. Bank one offers you this cash flow, 200 and 990, and bank two offers you the cash flow of you need to return 880 during the first year and 216 during the second year. Okay, the question is, which bank do you select? Think a little about 2 to 3 minutes. Yeah, those that were my students, they know the answer already, but just try to remember what is the logic here, okay? 2 minutes, guys. Just my question is very simple. Which one do you select? Bank number one or bank number two? 1 minute, come a minute. Okay, 1 more minute. Think, guys, and think. Try to understand. This is a decision, so you need to take a decision. Which one do you select, bank one or bank two? Okay, someone who selects bank number 1 and who selects bank number 2? Guys, these are real life situations that you can face, okay? Which one do you select? Bank 1 or bank 2?
Two.
Bank 2.
Bank 2, why?
The
Interest.
repayments are lower.
Interest
The
lower.
payments are lower. Okay, so indeed what you're telling to me, guys, is that, you know what is the interest rate here? Let's see. What is the interest rate for this one here? You can take a look here. So this works in the following way. So the first period, you're going to get $1,000 from the bank. So you pay 100 and interest is 100. So basically, if you divide the interest by the principal that you own, gives you the interest rate, correct? So the interest rate for this one here is 10%. And the interest rate for this one here is what? You can see if I have $1,000 here and I'm paying an interest of 80, so 80 divided by 1,000 is 8%. Got it? And I will show you how to do this in Excel, but the logic, that's why I give you these additional pieces of information, just to help you. Now, I have 2 of your colleagues that said line number 2. Is someone saying line number 1? Someone?
I thought line number 1 in the beginning, because if you just sum up the repayments, or line 1, the lower sum, you pay lower total amount of money.
Well, there are a couple of questions there, guys. Remember, you cannot sum this 100 with this 90, do you agree? Because they are in different periods of time. But in any case, if you do that, here you're paying 190 in interest, dollar based, and here you're paying in interest 96 only. So if you do that, let me repeat, this is wrong because we're not thinking in terms of finance. We're thinking more in terms of accounting. Okay, I have 80 plus 16 is 96, and 100 plus 90 is 190. So I still prefer line number 2, correct? So what else, guys? Why the question is not straightforward? Why not everyone jumps into the pool and say, you know what, line number 1 is the best one, or line number 2 is the best one? Why? Where is the tricky part that you find? What is tricky for you in these cash flows? What? Guys, the issue is that here, in this one here, you return to the bank only $200 versus $880, you see? So if you return only $200 and then, sorry, no, you pay $200 from which 100 is principal, how much money you are left to work in the second period? 900, correct? How much money are you left with bank number 2 for the second period? It's $1,000 minus 800, so I'm just left here with $200. So that's the main difference between these two guys, of course, apart from, besides the 10% and 8% here. Make sense to you guys? So this one here gives you more cash for the second period compared to this one here. Okay, now, how do we solve these problems, guys? And this is crucial. When we have this type of problems, we don't think about the payments for the bank. These are payment structure for the bank, do you agree? This is what the bank, they give you $1,000, you need to pay 200 and 990. You need to think always in terms of your project. Got it? So your project means the following. Let's assume, guys, that you have a project, okay, I'm just assuming, going to the extreme, that you have one project that produces a 50% per period, okay? So you have a project that produces 50% per period. So how this helps you? Try to analyze that. Now I give you an additional piece of information. Your project has an internal rate of return equal 50%. So it produces 50%. So what happens here? Okay, now what if you have a project that produces 50%? Your answer changes or not? Or you continue being line number 2?
I think you have to go to loan number 1 since you can't make the repayment and the loan.
Yeah, okay, so let's do some numbers. So now I have one of your colleagues is now going towards line number 1 for this 50%. Someone else. Okay, guys, take a look. The way of analyzing this one is very intuitive, okay? So what happens if you have a project that produces 50%? You receive that $1,000. What is the value of this $1,000 in one period ahead? What you do is you simply multiply this times 1.5, correct? Guys, you agree? So next period, I make, with this $1,000, I make 1,500. Well, I need to pay my $200. I'm left with 1,300. This 1,300 moved into the future, also multiplied by 1.5. So because I have 50% return, this is equal to what? $1,950. Then I need to pay my 990. I'm left with $960 in this one here. Correct? Guys, do you agree with me?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, now let's do the same exercise with the second line. The 1,000 becomes 1,500. I paid 880. So I have 0, 2, 4. I got 620. Correct or not?
Yeah.
Sorry. And then I move this 620 one more period times 1.5. So this becomes 930. Then I need to pay my 216. And then I end up with 714. Agree with me or not?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Which one is better? This one. Agree with me or not, guys? Come on.
Yes.
Under the 50% assumption, line 1 is preferred to line 2. Okay, why is that? It's because of, this is called the cash flow structure, guys. Here you pay less, that's why you are left with more to invest in your project. Here you are left with less to invest in your project, and that's why you produce less. Got it? Now, then guys, the relevant question when you do this type of analysis is, the cash flow helps you decide, but what really matters is this number here. What can you produce with that money? Okay, what can you produce with this money is what matters at the end of the day. Got it? And of course, this 50% is, as soon as I'm at time 0, 50% can be a forecasted value. But perhaps, what happens now if it's 20%? What happens if you have 10%? What happens if you have different values? Got it? So for example, what happens, guys, if your project, let me minimize this one. What happens if your project has an IRR of 6%? Which one do you select? Which one do you select, guys? Come on, this is very quickly. Which line of credit do you select? Which bank do you select? Bank 1 or bank 2? Guys. Which line do you select, guys? Bank 1 or bank 2? If you have an internal rate of return of 6%. Come on. This is pure intuition. If bank 1, the average interest rate is 8%, and bank 2, the average interest rate is 10%, and you produce 6%, which one do you select? Mariam, Valentina, Caguiso, Ithiel, anyone?
8%.
8%. Okay, I have one. Another person, another one. Guys, come on, where's your intuition here?
Oh, actually 10%.
10%, okay.
I will be prepared easier.
Yeah. Guys, just forget about the example. You have two lines of credit, and the only thing you know is that 8% and 10%. You have one bank that charges you 8% and one bank that charges you 10%. And then you produce, your own project produces 6%. Which one do you select?
Neither.
Of course, none.
None.
Because you're not going to be able to pay the 8%, not the 10%. So you don't do this project, guys. If these are the only lines of credit that you have, you're going to be losing money because your internal rate of return is only 6%. So you simply say, I'm sorry. Now, guys, be careful that in development, this is also very interesting. I remember this was a microfinance institution in Sierra Leone, and they did this beautiful campaign. So the average interest rate per month these guys were charging was 7%, okay? And they had it was only 15 days promotion. They were saying, instead of charging you 7%, we're going to charge you 4%. Got it? So it is a very significant discount in the interest rate per month. Do you agree? So what do you think it happens? Tons of people went into this microfinance institution and took a loan. Then what happened 2 or 3 months ahead? 95% of these guys collapsed. Why? Because, guys, they were just looking at the rates of the bank. They forgot what is crucial for this analysis, how much you produce. I can offer you guys a 2% interest rate. If you have a project that produces 1%, you're going to be losing. Make sense to you? So what you need to remember from this class, guys, is please, these numbers, of course, they matter, but they matter just for comparison. Which one is a number that really matters to you is how much you can produce. If you can produce 12%, if you can produce more than these numbers here, then you have a completely viable project. But if you have a project that produces less than the minimum of these two guys, so forget about that. You cannot do anything. Make sense to everyone? The obvious question, the obvious answer is, if you have a project that produces, so here, none. Now, if you have an internal rate of return that produces exactly 8%, what do you do? Which one do you select?
Neither still?
No, in this case, you can have this one here because there is another thing that you need to understand.
But you're just breaking even. So.
Yes, but here comes you here break even. and I will say line 2. Now, what is break even, guys? So now I want you to understand, what is these cash flows here? What are these cash flows here? Okay, breaking even, guys, doesn't mean that you as an owner are not going to make money. You're going to make money. Why? Because these cash flows here, guys, already have included all the payments that you have done before that. So this 880, etc., the project that you have here, all already include salaries, you know, leases, machinery, etc., 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 are already net. So these numbers here are net of all these things. So this means that even though you break even, you can be making a decent salary. Make sense? You as an owner, you still are making a decent salary. This 8% comes with something that is called net numbers. Okay? Now, the question is, what happens if you have a different rate? For example, if you have a 10%, or if you have a 12%. So now, not necessarily having a 10% implies that I will select this 10%. I will show you in a minute. Okay? So the cases that we know for sure are if your internal rate of return is lower than the lowest of the banks, you simply don't do the project. If you have internal rate of return that is equal to the lowest one, you take the lowest one. And everything in between depends on what? On this structure here. And I will show you how this works in Excel. Okay? Copy this one here and let's do this in Excel.
Sorry, what are the net numbers? I missed.
Oh yeah, you know what? Let me open, I will show you. Give me 1 second. Let me open one file just to allow you understand. Give me 1 second, please. Just copy and I will open for you one example. I don't know why my Excel is so slow. 1 second, please.
And if the rate of return is higher than any of them, then which one would be
Oh, that's exactly what we're going to do today. I will show you how to, at this point, just by looking at the numbers, I have no idea. But we are going to know how to do that in 10, 15 minutes in this class, okay? Yeah, but because that's the question. Which one I select if I have 13, 14, 15%? Just give me 1 second. Let me open one example. I think I can show you this one here. Just give me 1 minute, guys. My computer is very slow now. And I will show you what I'm talking about. Oh, here we go. Okay, so let me show you my screen. Guys, now remember that my cash flow, guys, it is the last part of all the analysis, okay? So don't imagine that cash flows are everything that we do in project evaluation. No, in project evaluation, we do huge projects, and the lines that we are seeing are these ones. So for example, this is one project that we are doing in Peru. This is a gold refinery. So as you can see, guys, there is tons of things. You have, you know, cash flows, you have, I'm sorry, what's going on now here? Oh, it's not responding. You see this one here. These are technical aspects that go into the project, how the project works, how the process is done, what type of processes you do, etc. Okay, and then you do, for example, forecast of sales. So this is what you need to invest. You do a bunch of things, guys. This is and every single number of these has a support. We analyze every single number. We do forecasting on sales, etc. Okay, and then what we are seeing at this point, okay, of course we have financing, how much money we're going to receive, how much money we're going to pay in interest rates, in interest, etc. Human resources, how many people do we need, what are the salaries, etc. So this is a complete project, do you agree? And what we are doing now, guys, is simply analyzing the last line of everything. So let me show you. Not this one, here. Cash flow. Do you see this number here? So these are the revenues, these are the expenses, and etc. Okay, I don't want to go into the details here. But what we are analyzing in this class, guys, is this part here. Is this part here. Do you see this part here? Remember my cash flows? This is what I'm analyzing. But remember that before all these numbers come a huge analysis. And basically what happens here is that I'm already including salary and benefits somewhere around here. Labor, board participation. You have all the expenses in here that include your salaries, for example, etc., etc., etc. Make sense to everyone? So we are analyzing only this line, this final line of the analysis. You see, I've computed my net present value, I've computed my internal rate of return, as you can see. Do you see that? Guys, do you see this?
Yeah.
Okay, so remember that if you break even, so it doesn't mean that you're not able to cover everything here. You're able to cover everything here. Got it? So that's the break-even idea. So even though if you break even, it's a good idea to have it because you're receiving your salaries, you're receiving bonuses, you're receiving other type of compensation for your work. Questions? Make sense to you? Guys, make sense to you?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, so now let's do, I don't want to say this one here. Let's do what we have been doing in the, you see my screen, you see Excel? Oh, I need to share this again, sorry. I need to share my Excel. Okay, so what I will do is I will open a new file, a new tab. Okay, and what I will do here, guys, is if you can copy with me so we can do this together. So I will do simply my 1,000. In the first one, I paid 200, minus 200. And then minus 990. And line number 2 is $1,000. And I pay minus 880. And then I pay minus 216. So these are my two cash flows. Do you agree with me?
Yes.
Okay, can you copy these two? I copy these ones here and let's do this together. And then you're going to do another example. The first thing that I need to know, guys, always when I have this cash flow is how much money, what is the interest rate of my credit? How much money the banks are charging me? Okay, so what is the interest rate basically? So how do I do that? In Excel is very simple. The command is exactly the same as my internal rate of return. You simply do this. Do you remember we computed these numbers? 10% and 8%, line 1, line 2. Do you remember that? So the way you compute the cost of credit, guys, what is the interest rate for bank number 1 and bank number 2, is simply you use the command internal rate of return. Okay, everyone is with me?
How do you compute that one? I missed it.
Oh yeah, let's do F2. Can you see it? Let me make this big first.
Yeah, I can see. Okay.
Yeah, here you go.
Okay.
The command is internal rate of return, and you simply remember internal rate of return blocks everything, selects all the cells, including the first cell.
Okay, perfect.
Got it?
Okay.
So basically, bank number 2 offers 8%, bank number 1 offers 10%. However, be careful about the structure, okay? So you pay here more than here. So sometimes, even though this interest rate is higher in this bank, you are going to select this bank because they require you a less prepayment during the first period. And that's what we're going to try to analyze. Okay, so here what we're going to do is let's write own IRR. So I'm stressing is our own IRR, it's my IRR. And then I will say here, net present value of line 1 and net present value of line 2, okay? And then what I will do here is I will start talking about if my project produces 1%. Now, if my project produces 2%, and then I will go up to 20, for example. 15, 16, 20. So let me reduce this. Are you with me?
Sorry. The percentages on the left, these
Yes.
are the rate of return from your production.
From my project. But these are
Okay.
assumptions. What if my project produces 1%? What if my project produces 2%, etc.?
Okay.
You see?
All right. I get it.
So and now what we do, guys, is we simply compute the net present value using this cash flow and using this 1% as my opportunity cost. So what I will do is equal NPV. Okay, the rate is this one here. If you can follow me for the first one, please. The rate is this one here. The values, remember, are these two numbers here. When you block here, please press F4. So this is going to put $, $, $. So this implies that this is not going to move for this column. You close the parentheses and then you sum the first value as we did for the previous net present value. So it's net present value of A6. A6 is the number that's going to be changing. A6, A7, 8, 9, 10, etc. My cash flow is never going to change because the payments never change. It's minus 200 and minus 990 never change. So that's why I have B2 and B3 $, and also B1 should be $. Okay, are you with me? Oops, I don't want percentages. I want this a number. Do you get 158.51 negative number? Guys, you get this number?
Yeah.
Okay. What I will do is you see that small black cross, just copy to the next one. And then we do F2 just to move the numbers. So I want this to be here. I want this to be this one here. I want this to be this one here. This is my formula. You can do this typing if you want. But now I will compute the net present value using the values, the cash flow of line number 2 or bank number 2. C2, C3 don't change, as C1 doesn't change also. 1 minute to copy, and then once we have these two, we are done. The remaining part is simply copy paste. Ready? Do you obtain minus 83.03?
Yeah.
Everyone? So what we do now is we block all of them, appears my cross, double click. Do you see that? Okay, 1 minute to copy. Sorry, let me save this one here. Are you with me, guys?
Yes.
Everyone got these numbers? Daniel?
Yeah, I got the same.
Okay, Ethiel?
Yes.
What about Mariam and Valentina?
Yes.
Okay, good, perfect.
Yeah.
So now, guys, here what you can see is what I told you. If it's below 8%, you saw this one here, which one do you select? None, because the net present value is less than 0. So basically, you don't do the project. Do you agree? If we follow the rules of net present value, we don't do anything. Now, if it's 8%, of course, we select line number 2. Now, if we go 10%, you know, by intuition appears that we should select the line number 1, but no, take a look. Line number 2 produces more than line number 1, so you should select line number 1. And then up to more or less 14%, you're kind of indifferent between selecting 1 and 2, correct? But after 15%, where's my 15%? After 15%, you can see that these numbers here are larger than these numbers here. So better for you to go into line number 1. Got it? So how do we see this in a graphical way? I love this graph. So let's plot. Let's do like that. Block everything. Can you block everything? Then we go into insert scatter diagrams, and then we select this one here. So it's insert scatter diagrams, and then you simply click enter. And here you have this beautiful graph. This is one of the most useful graphs, guys, that I always use in real life. Do you see that? Okay, so my net present value are here in the x-axis. This is my internal rate of return. So what I say here is basically, if I produce less than 8%, my net present values are going to be the negative space, so I don't do anything. If my interest rate is between 8 to more or less 14, the orange one that corresponds to line number 2 is a preferred. Correct? And if I have a project that produces more than 14%, so imagine 20, the one that I will select is line number 1. Make sense to everyone? Okay, questions? It's clear to everyone?
Yeah.
Okay, so for next class, guys, what I need from you is to do the following analysis. So let me do new share. Using Excel, okay? I want you to do the following example. Do the same, okay? So what we have done here, just replicate with a different number. So another example. Where's my? So what I want is the following. So you have 10,000. So this is line number 1. The payments are going to be minus 6,000, minus 5,500. Line number 2 is going to be 10,000, of course, as line number 3. And this is going to be minus 3,200, minus 6, oh, sorry, 8,960. Okay, so what I need from you is the cost of credit. And I want to you is create table with own internal rate of return that belongs to 1% to, let's say, 60%, 70%. And see graph. Make sense to everyone? Okay, so I want you guys to do exactly the same as we have done now, but with now 3 lines of credit, 3 banks. And I want you to tell me which one do you select under different circumstances. We're going to discuss that more in detail on our next class. Okay, questions?
I have questions, but it's okay.
In Excel? In Excel?
No, like from the earlier discussion, but like it could wait until everyone.
Yeah, no, you can ask, of course. Go ahead.
No, just clarification so that I get
Yep.
The concepts.
Yep. Go ahead.
NPV looks to the you calculate it from the return and then you're discounting it back.
Correct. That's discounting.
So NPV is dependent on the opportunity cost or the interest rate.
No. Remember the opportunity cost, it is an interest rate, but it's called opportunity cost. Okay.
But the opportunity cost is from another. So you're comparing. So the opportunity cost is from another value, another
project, another project. Let's call it another project. Yes.
So the NPV is you're comparing one project with another.
Yeah,
so
exactly. Yeah, you know
so
what? Yeah, let me.
That's because like how I thought NPV was before was the intrinsic value of something instead of NPV is the value of something in contrast from something else.
Yeah. So imagine that you have projects, project 1, project 2, project 3. Okay. This project produces 3%. This project produces 5%. This project produces 4%. Got it? So this is before the project that you're going to analyze. You have project to analyze. Okay. So these ones here are your portfolio of possible projects that you have, okay, and real projects. Which one is your opportunity cost here? These are real projects. I always say, I always want to stress, these are real projects. Which one is your opportunity cost?
The 3% and 4%, because 5% is only.
Yeah, this is my opportunity cost. My best project is the one that produces my 5%. You know what, if you have project 1, project 2, project 3, you know these ones here. Which one are you going to do? Definitely this one here, of course. It's the one that produces the most money to you. Got it? Then this is the project that you have at this point, today, now. Then you know, just imagine this. I come to you and tell you, hey, Daniel, you know what? I offer you the project, the following investment project, okay? Let's invest $1,000. And then you're going to get, I don't know, I think I use, what numbers I use here?
500.
Yeah.
1,000.
And 1,200. And I tell you, hey, Daniel, you know what? Let's do this project. Okay, and imagine, forget about risk, forget about everything. It's going to be a sure thing. My question is, do you do this project or don't do this project? That's the type of question. So in order to decide, what do you need? Well, you need to do two things. You need to compound or you need to discount. Net future value, this is not used, it's the same, or the net present value. Okay, so let's focus on this one here. This is discounting, correct, guys?
Yeah.
When you discount, what do you need? You need an interest rate to discount. What is this interest rate? My opportunity cost. Because what I'm doing is I'm comparing. If I use this $1,000 at my opportunity cost, I get something. Do you agree? And if I do the project, if I do this project, I get more money.
Yeah.
Which one produces more? That's the question. This project produces more than my opportunity cost, yes or no? This is exactly the answer, the question that NPV is trying to answer.
Okay.
And indeed, it depends on the opportunity cost, definitely. So that's why opportunity cost is crucial to understand this project here, this concept here.
So I guess I had a wrong terminology what opportunity cost was, because I thought opportunity cost was the 3% and 4%.
No. So remember, the opportunity cost is your second best. The people call opportunity cost sometimes the second best, but I have my reluctance to use second best. Okay, why is second best? Is second best compared to this project, basically. What is the best alternative that you have that is not this project? That's the opportunity cost. Got it? And this depends and this changes from people to person. So if you just have access to a bank account, that's it. You cannot do anything. If you have access to mutual funds, okay, that's the rate that you can use. If you have access to more sophisticated financial instruments, that can be your opportunity cost. But this depends on person to person. But it's basically, what is that you can realistically make with the $1,000? Okay. What can you do with the $1,000 now? If you have $1,000, how much money you can make with the $1,000? That's the question. That's opportunity cost. Okay. More questions? Okay, guys. So please, if you can invest time on the Excel, and then next class we do one more class, and then we are going to do in a couple of classes we're going to do a review. Okay, just to be sure that we all understand everything, because this is crucial and it's very useful for everyone, guys. And let me tell you, by experience, all my students really appreciate this part here when they go back to work, because these are real things that you're going to apply. Environment, in real life, for your own life, for development situations, you use this one here a lot. Okay, and it's very simple once you know how this works, and it's very impressive because just doing this graph for someone that has no idea how to create that graph is really impressive. Okay. Okay, guys. So see you next week, and if you have questions, please email me, and I'm always going to be available for you. Okay. Have a nice week, guys. Take care.
Thank you very much.
Bye,
Thank you.
guys. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.